I remember it vividly, but I'm curious, Daniel, do you remember?
Do I remember the day I met you? No.
No.
I do remember the casting process very well.
You're breaking my heart.
Because I'd seen Pusher. I was in one of those situations where they were asking me about casting in a James Bond movie, and I was playing James Bond, and I still was trying to come to terms with the fact that I was playing James Bond. And your name came up, and I was like, yes! Because all I cared about was getting great actors in the film. I mean, that's all. Yeah. Your name came up, and I just was bit their hand off.
But you might remember it as a fitting or costume fitting. I was there, and it's true, they dressed me in a tuxedo. But I was supposed to do the casting, the torture scene with you. That was it. So I was just waiting around, and you were casting the Bond girls. So it was a day of complete chaos. Right. And we, at that point, I'm not sure, can I say this? You were smoking. So we had a cigarette all of a sudden together. Oh, okay. And then Martin Campbell came up, and he was just so stressed out. And he walked up to me and said, "Hi, Mads. Oh, sorry, I don't have time for you. Welcome on board." Yeah. And then he left. And I was a little confused, and he came back and he said, "Mads, you don't understand. You got the part. I don't want to see you. Just fuck home." And then you took a drag of your cigarette and you said the famous word, "Who did you fuck?" I did 6 castings for this. That was our first meeting.
God, I can't believe how witty I was. That's
You were so witty. But you were also a smoker then.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, it was. In the book, they take a wicker chair and they cut it out with a butterfly knife. I think they kind of do in the film.
Yeah, it's a butterfly knife.
It's just a whip. It's like a kind of like a horsewhip, I think, in the book.
Mm. Oh, wow, even more painful.
Yeah, well, it was painful either way. But where did the rope come from? Do you know where the rope?
With the knot.
Knot, yeah.
Don't know, but I do remember we had an extensive conversation with Martin Campbell. And we were like, because we came from rock and roll film, we were just diving into that scene, and we came up with so many cool ideas. And Martin was listening, and at a certain point he said, guys, come back. It's a Bond film. Right. We just left that. We were somewhere else.
I squeezed some stuff in though.
It was always a scene that was like on the edge. We were never sure whether it's going to be in there or not, because it was on the edge for a Bond film.
Yeah, so, and I have to say, so I'm sitting in a chair which had, and I'm naked, kind of. Yeah, I was
naked. Naked.
I think so. And I had I don't know what it was made of. It was not. I mean, it was fine and it worked, but it was a sort of thing that was the shape of my backside in the chair, which I sat in
to stop the knot.
Was actually swinging that thing right up under the chair, and it was hitting me as hard as it sounded. So I kind of had to give over to the fact that this thing wouldn't break, because he was.
It did break.
Fuck out of it.
It did break.
It did break. Right, it did. Yeah.
It did. And it was made of some. It was made of some plywood, so you got splinters going like that. It was a wonderful day for me. Yeah. You maybe not as much. I mean, it was a brutal day, obviously.
No,
it was 8 hours of you screaming your lungs out. It was insane.
You know what was so fabulous was that it was one of those situations where I was nervous. I was nervous about everything every day. I mean, that's why I kind of wonder what I was. I can't imagine the person I was that you saw back then, because I was so uptight, not uptight, but just kind of jangling nerves about everything. And because I was just, everything was just so important. And I remember doing that day, knowing that the scene was good, knowing that it was like kind of on the edge, and you came in and you just smacked it out of the park. You were so like in it. You was all of the things that I just was like, it's just, and then it was joyful because it was just an acting scene.
I was just as nervous, obviously performing in not my mother tongue, but at the same time, what you were like, I would say, I mean, you were Bond. And I knew the pressure you were having on you, and I also saw some of the headlines before we even shot one scene. And everybody, it's the crown jewels of English cinema, right? And I was just thinking one day, and when I saw a headline, it was like, before we had shot the scene, I was like, oh my God, that is insane pressure you're under. But I remember you as stubborn in the way that this is what we're doing. Let's go for it. Let's just go for it. If you were nervous, I couldn't tell. You just grabbed it and then you ran with it.
Aim for the stars, I might hit the treetops. It was just like, it was one of those things where you go, if I do one, there you go. That's all right. I did one.
It's a win-win. It's a win-win.
You know,
you'll be the second George Lazenby then.
Yeah, I was just like, so what? It's okay.
Right.
Something to be remembered by. I also remember very vividly, like the poker, because I mean, the poker scenes were quite laborious. Because it was just camera angles and camera angles.
Right.
Like shooting a big dinner party. I mean,
right.
It's got to get coverage because you've got to get everybody's reactions. And you were really into poker, and you were playing. I remember you were playing quite a lot of poker.
Everyone but you, Daniel.
Frankly, it feels very natural. You know, it feels very natural and very easy. It doesn't feel like it's forced. And, you know, it's owed to, you know, the amount of rehearsal that we put in, you know, around the poker table, away from set and on set.
A lot of cast members who shall remain anonymous have been doing an awful lot of extracurricular rehearsal, so I hear.
In between takes, and we're playing for our week's wages.
We're basically at the casinos every night now.
I know.
You were not interested in playing
because I didn't give a shit. I had other things to think about.
I know you did.
It was literally what you were asking me to do was to go off set and relax. And I was so not able to do that. I was not able to go,
no, that's true.
Poker, let's chill out. You know,
yeah.
I remember getting very drunk, I think, but maybe a couple of times. but I couldn't do it on set.
A couple of weeks ago, I received a wonderful email from you, and I haven't heard from you for quite a few years. And I could tell it was very genuine, and I was really, really pleased to hear from you and hear that you enjoyed the film.
The science is correct, right? Or the science sort of pseudo.
Sure.
The idea
it's
that
a paper.
We're all not quite drunk enough, which in this time of COVID feels very kind of like you're probably right.
Exactly.
But it's very complicated. It shows a particular type of masculinity that sort of celebratory is not threatening, I don't think, is silly, stupid, all of those things.
We watched a lot of YouTube, and we watched a lot of Russian people going crazy, and that it gave us a lot of comfort because it was beyond insane what they did. But there is an infamous video, and it just sounds like something else, but it's not. It's called Two Men and a Log, and this is the two Russian guys trying to put this log on a bicycle for no reason at all. And it's insane to watch. Listen, I've enjoyed every single Bond film that Daniel has been in. It's been absolutely wonderful to see the development of the films. And just to wrap it up from where we started, there was not 1 second that I was in doubt that you would be the best Bond ever since we did the first scene together. And I know that you were full of doubts, and it was a brutal, brutal journey. But I was sure you nailed it, and you showed them all.
You're a very lovely man. Yeah, you're exceptional in this film, and the movie is just beautiful, and it's magnificent work.
Daniel, we'll see you out there.